The night was quiet, yet the ancient castle seemed to breathe with memories and ghosts. King Lucian Valtiri, ruler of the Blood Kingdom, stood alone in a sealed chamber of shadowed pillars and moonlit carvings. His crimson eyes watched the enchanted mirror before him flicker to life. He had already told the court he was traveling far away on a political mission, but the truth was far different. Lucian wasn't leaving. He was hiding, and he was watching. For months, he had considered making Lady Seraphine Walcrest his queen, the elegant noblewoman who seemed graceful, kind, and perfectly suited to royal eyes. The court adored her. The council praised her. And Lucian, widowed and tired, wanted to believe she might be a gentle stepmother to his 3 infant sons. But doubt had bloomed. A cold, quiet worry. His late queen Arya had whispered her dying plea with trembling lips. Protect them. Trust, love, not appearances. Now he needed truth, not performance. Through the mirror, the royal nursery came into view. His triplets Damien, Elias, and Thorn cried softly in their cradles. Their sigils glowed faintly, marking them as heirs of ancient blood. Moments later, Seraphine entered the room. At first glance, she was stunning, hair like spun silver, ruby gown flowing behind her, but her expression was not soft. It was irritated, cold, almost cruel. "Oh, silence already," she muttered under her breath, though no nanny stood nearby to hear. 3 boys. What a burden. Lucian felt his chest tighten. He forced himself to remain still, though fury crawled beneath his skin like fire. The babies cried harder. Sensing tension, Seraphine didn't pick them up. She didn't soothe them. She simply turned and walked away. A long silence followed. Then soft footsteps. A different door opened. A girl entered. Quietly humble clothes, messy bun, gentle eyes. Just the cleaning lady, Alara Wells. She rushed to the cradles with panic and mother-like urgency. "Oh, little ones," she whispered. "No one should cry alone." She lifted them one by one, humming a lullaby, soft, sweet, familiar. Lucian froze. That melody. It belonged to his late queen. Only 2 people ever knew it. Him and the young maid who had helped during the birth. Lara, the overlooked girl, now rocking his sons with tears in her eyes. "You miss her, don't you?" she whispered softly to the infants. "Your mother loved you, and I promised I would protect you." The babies quieted instantly. Lucian's hardened, dead and silent for months, ached. Not from pain, from recognition, from truth. Here in the quiet shadows, the king finally understood. Kay had been watching the wrong woman, and this test had only just begun. Asterisk. Morning light filtered through stained glass windows, painting the castle floor in shades of ruby and gold. In the hidden tower, King Lucian watched the next mirror shift, showing the grand dining hall where nobles gathered for breakfast. Lady Seraphine sat at the head of the table, sit laughing softly as servants rushed around her. "More berries," she ordered. "Not the common ones, the imported ones. The king prefers quality." Nobles nodded, impressed. But the mirror revealed another truth. Once the servants bowed and turned away. Seraphine rolled her eyes. "Honestly," she muttered, "feeding peasants better than royalty." Lucian's jaw tightened. Still, he waited. The test was not over. Down another corridor, Alara walked quietly, pushing a laundry cart. Her sleeves were rolled up, her dress patched at the elbows. Yet her steps were gentle and her expression warm. When a passing noblewoman bumped into her intentionally, forcing her to drop folded linens, the hall went silent. "Tsk," the noble scoffed. "Clumsy little servant. Try using your eyes." Alara bowed her head, apologizing softly. She knelt to pick up the fabric, even as humiliation burned her cheeks. Lucian leaned forward, watching. Seraphine appeared then. placing a delicate hand over her chest as if horrified. "Oh dear," she sighed loudly, ensuring every ear heard. "Elara, must you embarrass the castle?" Elara froze. She didn't defend herself. She simply whispered, "I'm sorry, my lady. It won't happen again." But something in her voice trembled not fear, heartbreak, and then something unexpected happened. A soft cry echoed down the hall. One of the triplets, Damien Elara, dropped everything. She didn't ask permission. She didn't wait for orders. She ran straight toward the nursery. Lucian's cold facade cracked again in the mirror. Elara scooped Damien into her arms and soothed him gently. "There now," she murmured. "No one will ignore you. Not while I'm here." The baby quieted instantly, tiny fingers curling around her dress. Seraphine entered moments later, annoyance flashing across her perfect face. "Oh, for moon's sake," she snapped. "Why are you holding him? You're a cleaning maid, not a nurse." Lara lowered her gaze, but didn't release the child. "He was crying, my lady," she whispered. "Babies cry because they need someone." Seraphine's eyes narrowed a cold, sharp stare. "Well, perhaps they need stricter training. Royal heirs should not cry over everything." Elara looked up, then truly looked tan for the first time. Lucian saw steel beneath her softness. "Children do not need training," she said quietly. "They need love." Seraphine's expression twisted for a second, dully venomous, before she forced a smile. "Oh, sweet servant," she murmured condescendingly. "You will understand when you are wiser." She swept out of the room. Silk trailing behind her, Elara stayed. She rocked Damien gently, humming that same forbidden lullaby. Lucian exhaled slowly. A dangerous realization settled into his bones. The council believed Seraphine was fit for the crown. But the castle's children already knew who their true protector was. The test continued, but his heart had already begun to choose. Asterisk, night settled over the castle like velvet shadow. Moonlight touched the stone balconies, and the air carried the scent of winter roses, the kind Lucian's late queen once adored. In the hidden tower, the mirrors shimmered again. Lucian watched the nursery first. Elara sat on the floor beside the cradles, her dress wrinkled and her hair slipping loose from its bun. The triplets rested peacefully, Damien curled against her lap, Elias holding her sleeve, and Thorn asleep with his tiny hand over her heart. She wasn't asleep. She was humming, softly, tearfully. "Your mother loved you," she whispered. "And until this world breaks me, I'll protect you." Lucian swallowed hard. Not even the court had spoken Queen Arya's name aloud in months. They tiptoed around grief as though pretending it didn't exist would erase it. But Elara honored it, she remembered, before he could process the emotion tightening inside him. Another mirror flashed. The council chamber. Seraphine stood before the advisors, veil of sweetness masking her calculated tone. "My lords," she said softly, "the kingdom needs discipline, not sentiment. These heirs must grow strong, detached. If they cling to servants and unworthy comfort, they will never rule." The oldest advisor frowned. "But the king has a gentle heart." Seraphine's smile sharpened. "The king is blinded by loss. He needs someone who can make hard decisions." Lucian felt the temperature drop around him, an instinctive reaction. "It's ancient and dangerous." "Hard decisions," he whispered, voice cold. "Or convenient." The following day carried a strange tension, as if the castle itself felt the brewing storm. Servants whispered, guards stiffened, and even the flames in the chandeliers flickered low. Lucian watched through the enchanted mirror as Seraphine prepared for a royal luncheon. She adorned herself in obsidian silk and jewels forged from ancient vampire fire, symbols of dominance rather than grace. A pair of servants struggled to adjust her train. "Hurry," Seraphine snapped. A future queen should not be kept waiting. One servant trembled, adjusting the fabric too quickly. The hem snagged on Seraphine's bracelet. Pulling a thread loose, the noblewoman froze. Not with shock, but with rage. "You incompetent girl," she hissed, before the servant could apologize. Seraphine raised her hand, not in discipline, but to strike. Lucien surged forward, instinctively fangs, bared forgetting the spell that held him hidden. But before the blow fell, a hand caught Seraphine's wrist. Elara. Her voice trembled, but her stance did not. "No one deserves harm for a mistake," she said softly. Seraphine stared at her as if she were an insect daring to defy a boot. "You forget your place," she growled. Ilara's eyes softened. Not in weakness, but in conviction. "My place," she whispered, "is where kindness is needed." The room went silent. Servants stared. Guards froze. Even the flames steadied, as if listening. Seraphine jerked her hand free and stepped closer. Voice low and poisonous. "You think anyone will protect you when I become queen?" Ilara didn't flinch. "I don't do what's right for power," she murmured. "I do it because someone must." Seraphine scoffed and stormed away, heels striking the marble with anger. When she was gone, the young servant burst into tears. Ilara knelt beside her, offering a cloth to wipe her face. "You are not less than her," she said gently. "Remember that?" Lucien exhaled slow, heavy, conflicted, every action. Every word from Ilara revealed a truth deeper than lineage or title. She led with heart, something the crown had not seen in decades. Later, in the dim quiet of the nursery, Ilara fed the triplets with steady hands and soft laughter. Damien grabbed her braid. She giggled. Elias babbled, as if trying to speak. Thorn simply watched her with wide, ancient eyes as if already sensing fate. "I wish I could protect you forever," Ilara whispered. "But I am just a cleaning woman. One mistake, and I'll be gone." Lucien flinched. She didn't know someone was listening. She didn't know she wasn't alone. "You're wrong," Lucien murmured to the mirror. "You're more than the crown deserves." For a fleeting second, he saw what his kingdom could be. A queen who wasn't chosen for beauty or alliance, but for compassion. Not someone who desired his throne, but someone who cherished his children, and for the first time since losing, Lucien felt something he thought he'd buried forever. Hope, asterisk. A storm rolled over the Blood Kingdom that night. Thunder shaking ancient stone. Lightning flashed against dark towers, and rain lashed against stained glass windows like desperate fists. Inside the hidden tower, Lucien stood motionless. But his thoughts were a storm of their own. He had seen enough. The test was nearing its end, but fate was not done revealing truth. The mirror glowed, showing the royal nursery once more. The triplets slept uneasily, whimpering as thunder echoed. Ilara rushed in, carrying blankets, softly calming them with that sacred lullaby. She didn't know. She had an audience. She never sought it. Her loyalty was never performance. When she bent to tuck Damien closer to her chest, lightning suddenly struck the outer courtyard hard enough to shatter a window. Glass exploded inward. The shock startled the baby's. One cry became three. Ilara shielded them instantly, wrapping her arms around all of them as best she could. Shards of glass cut her arms, leaving thin red lines across her skin. Yet she didn't move. She didn't protect herself. She protected them. There now," she whispered through shaking breath. "I've got you. You're safe." Lucien's breath left him in a silent, broken exhale at that moment. The castle guards finally rushed in, and behind them Seraphine. She gasped. But not at the blood or danger. No, her outrage was directed at Ilara. "What have you done?" she snapped. "The heirs are terrified. You should have left them for the trained staff." Ilara, still trembling, kept her arms around the children. "I couldn't leave them," she whispered. "They needed someone." Seraphine's voice sharpened to a blade. "You are filthy, bleeding, unfit to touch royal heirs." Elara bowed her head, not in fear. "But sorrow, I will accept any punishment," she said. "But I will never apologize for protecting them." Something in her tone stunned the room into silence. She stood, weak but steady, and gently placed each baby back into their cradle. The infants reached for her, but she stepped away, whispering, "You're safe now." Seraphine raised her hand, as if dismissing a servant from existence. "Pack your belongings. You're dismissed. After tomorrow, you will never set foot in this castle again." The words struck harder than the storm. The triplets screamed 3 desperate cries that pierced the hall. For a heartbeat. Even Seraphine faltered. Then the thunder ceased. The candles stilled. A cold wind swept through the corridor, shadows bent, and the unseen. King finally stepped into the light. Lucian's presence filled the room with ancient power. His cloak billowed like living shadow, and his crimson eyes glowed with restrained fury. Everyone dropped to their knees, except Elara. Too stunned to move, Seraphine forced a trembling smile. "My king," she stammered. "We feared you were gone." Lucian raised one hand. Silence slammed over the hall. His gaze slid past everyone and stopped on Elara. Lightning flashed again, lonely this time. She didn't flinch. He stepped closer, voice low enough only she heard. "They cried for you," he murmured. "Not for nobles. Not for nurses. For you." Her breath caught fear and wonder tangled together. Lucian turned to Seraphine. Then, his voice like ice. "And you, ... he said, "will not decide who is worthy in my castle." Pale Elra stood motionless, caught between disbelief and dread. For the first time since the test began, Lucian was no longer a hidden watcher taught. He was a king reclaiming. Truth and destiny had shifted. Silence swallowed the corridor. Lightning flickered one final time before the storm faded, as if the sky itself bowed to the king's authority. Lucian's eyes locked on Seraphine, not with anger alone, but with judgment centuries old. "You speak of power," he said quietly, "but true power protects. It does not belittle. It does not wound the innocent." Seraphine lifted her chin, though fear trembled beneath her confidence. "I only wanted what was best for the kingdom." Lucian's expression didn't soften. "No," he replied. "You wanted the crown, not the responsibility." Gasps echoed through the hall. Her mask finally cracked. You deceived me," she whispered. Lucian's voice darkened. "No, I revealed you." With a gesture, 2 guards stepped forward. "You will leave the castle by dawn. Your titles and court privileges are revoked. You will speak of this to no one." Seraphine staggered backward, disbelief draining the remaining pride from her voice. "You're choosing her. A servant. A nobody." Lucian didn't glance away. "I'm choosing truth." Seraphine vanished down the corridor, her footsteps swallowed by the castle she once believed she owned. When she disappeared, the atmosphere shifted, lighter, warmer, almost hopeful. Lucian turned toward Elara. She still stood, frozen, one hand pressed against her wounded arm. Fear and confusion swirling in her eyes. "My king," she whispered, unable to finish. Lucian stepped closer, not as ruler to servant, but as man to woman. "You protected my sons when no one watched," he said softly, "even when it cost you comfort, dignity, and safety." She looked away. "Anyone would have." "No," Lucian replied gently. "Not anyone." Ilara finally met his gaze. "You shouldn't thank me," she murmured. "I failed tonight. I couldn't keep them from danger." Lucian shook his head. "You were the shield between them and harm. My sons calmed in your arms. They trust you instinctively, and so do I." A soft cry interrupted them. Little Elias reached from the cradle, his tiny hand stretching toward Ilara. Her breath caught. Lucian nodded. "Go to him." She hesitated, then stepped forward and lifted Elias carefully. The baby instantly nestled under her chin, peaceful once more. Lucian watched not as king but as father. "You gave them something priceless," he whispered. "Love without condition." Ilara blinked tears away. "No child should grow up without it." Lucian inhaled slowly, a decision forming in the space between their heartbeats. "Stay," he said. Ilara froze. "As what?" Lucian's voice softened, "As someone they need." A pause. Then lower, almost vulnerable. "And someone I wish to know." Her heart seemed to forget how to beat. "My lord?" "I don't deserve." Lucian gently took her hand, not forcing, simply offering. "Titles do not define worth," he murmured. "Actions do." The castle, once heavy with grief, felt alive again, hopeful. Watching, Lucian glanced at the sleeping princes and then back at her. "The kingdom will learn your name," he said. "Not as servant, but as the woman who protected the future of the bloodline." Ilara whispered only one word. "Why me?" Lucian's answer was simple and true. "Because when the world looked away, you cared." And for the first time in years, the king's cold, immortal heart warmed not with duty, but with possibility. A new beginning. A new chapter. One built not on fear or strategy, but on tenderness, courage, and the quiet strength of a woman no one saw coming.